Spontaneity. Oh, no, we're live. All right.
Spontaneity. Hello and welcome to this service announcement from three dickheads on the internet who know fucking nothing. And we'll continue to talk over each other for the next fucking hour and a half.
Welcome
You
back
hear me now?
to the episode of the Imaginary Movie Podcast
My name is Bonner, that podcast.
with your hosts.
Oh, you've got a much better
Live from RKO Towers.
Like the 50s
voice than
announcer
me, Ross.
voice.
No, it's
Yeah.
40s. It's a 40s one you're going for
40s,
there.
sorry,
Not-
yeah.
And I like it. I like it.
Practice that, Ross. Bring it back.
Well, we all know that gold is Arnie.
I know it's not going to be as good, but I think it could be still good. Do you know? Well, that's
You
the
won't
top.
believe what Howard Hughes has done next.
Oh, is that the
We
guy?
should do the yeah.
Oh, there. 3-hour movie, Ross. You up for it? Scorsese.
Oh, eat my
14-hour
ass.
podcast
Honestly,
in 15 parts.
that was one of the best things about this movie, honestly, because after doing Moonraker, after doing On Her
Yes.
Majesty's Shite Service,
Yes.
and then watching this, oh,
Right. Let's go. Come on. This is hashtag content. Let's go.
Say hashtag out loud.
Are you Sam?
You're in the industry.
Putting
You
your
know.
5
You know.
hours away
You know
right
how
now.
it works.
Lord.
You know how it works, Ross. Staying in.
Just do that for the next 10 minutes.
Maintain this level of intensity.
Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Imaginary Movie Podcast, a podcast where we invariably watch a 90s movie and then we talk about it. My name's David, and I don't know about you, Sam. I can't understand a fucking word that comes out of Ross's mouth.
Fair.
Baffling accent. My name's Sam, and $50 million. Man, who do you think you got? Corbin Dallas?
And I'm Ross. Don't ever touch a black man's radio.
There we go. It's a statement
Classic
from
line.
Ross.
This week,
Classic line.
we watched Rush Hour from 1998.
Yes.
Yep.
1998, a good year for films, I think. We've also got
Yeah.
Godzilla.
Oof.
I
Really?
don't know if that's a good film, Sam.
Yeah, God, that's
Hey,
that's
We
how
hey,
you
we've-
start
on the
list,
podcast
Sam.
a few weeks ago.
That's how
We
you start.
I'm pretty, no, I think that's a strong film, but also
Fairly sure
Armageddon.
we trashed that.
Yeah, of course we did,
Armageddon,
but it's still a
that's
good.
good
And Deep Impact. We've got the twin movie thing
That's
going
good.
on there.
That's good.
Yeah. Plus, let's not miss off Ronin as well, which also came out.
Great film.
Not as good as Double Impact, which we should do because we've done Bloodsport with Jean-Claude Van Damme. Double the dam, double the damage. We should do that.
I
We should
do
do
love
that
some
movie.
Van Damage.
Dams
I'll be
all
honest.
over the place. It's like Hoover Dam in here. Good.
If anything, it's too much dam.
It's just muscular men doing splits up and down, Sam, all the way down.
Fantastic.
That's where I live.
Yeah.
That is where I live.
Nestled
Dreaming
right
of doing the splits,
right
not breaking
between-
several ligaments.
That's how I'm recording this podcast. I've got 2 office chairs doing this splits while recording this.
It's Ross's safe space, right between the the hanging ball and gooch, and that's where Ross can just nestle in there. Lovely. It's a nice little warm spot for him to. Yeah, there we go.
Safe
Yeah.
and familiar.
Van Damme gooch. Very good.
Hashtag.
Hashtag.
I'm gooch.
We watched Rush Hour, which is a Jackie Chan, Chris Tucker movie. It's the Jackie Chan movie that introduced him to the Hollywood audiences, and I think as they go, we can talk about different Jackie Chan movies that we've all seen or not. But this is a pretty entertaining movie as they come. For like
It's a great movie, I think.
yeah.
Absolutely.
yeah.
I actually thought because you guys have, I think it was your first time watching this, or you hadn't watched it as often as I have. I thought you guys were going to trash this because I'm watching this through the lens of having watched it like 20 plus times through my childhood.
Oh
And
no,
I thought
I've seen it plenty of
Dave-
times as well, Ross. It's I think Dave's the novice to the Rush Hour
I
movies.
feel like I've seen one of the sequels, and I'm not sure why. Or maybe I'm just thinking of Shanghai Noon, which is the other kind of like Jackie Chan buddy
Yeah.
sort of cop movie, really.
I can't remember whether or not the sequels are any good. I'm gonna take a wild guess. I'm gonna take a massive drag on this joint right now. They're not good. That's what I'm gonna suggest right now because they are Just they can't be, can they? They just can't be good.
The limited amount of research I've done says that they are just this movie again.
Yeah,
I can tell you firsthand. No, they're not this movie again. If they're this movie again, that'll be fine. It is worse. It's easily worse. I mean, to be fair to them, at least 2 picks up exactly where 1 leaves off. But yeah, they're terrible. It's that classic Hollywood thing where you do one movie, wow, people love this. We've made money. Do it again. Do it again.
And number 3 features Roman Polanski. Yes, it features the actual Roman
international. What's the word?
I think the word he's looking for is paedophile, Dave. And
I was going to say refugee from justice, but that's not the right word. He's
no, fugitive from justice.
Fugitive from justice
now,
for several decades.
This
raping a 13-year-old.
Yeah, this is 2000.
Whoa, that's a hard R. That is a hard R right there.
This is 2000.
And it was Ross in 1978 when he fucking did it.
This is a 2007 movie as well. So Roman Polanski has been on the run despite all of the adoration from the Hollywood elites for several years, and does not go into countries that have extra.
Well, let's be fair, Sam. The Swiss government did arrest him after the US government asked him to. They did a thorough investigation, and they found out that he was an influential and rich white guy. And they were like, "Well, case closed. Off you go."
Can I use some chocolate?
Exactly. We're very sorry for the inconvenience, sir. We didn't realise that you were rich and influential and white.
We didn't realise you were white and had money.
You made some all right movies 20 years ago, and thus we don't really care about any of your crimes. Now, we're not talking about Roman Polanski
40 years ago.
Yeah. We're not talking about Roman Polanski
average movies
anymore because he is not in this movie. But let's talk about the wider franchise for a minute, and then we can dive into a plot summary, because this Rush Hour franchise is an absolute beast. We've got a budget overall of $305 million, and it has brought in $850 million in box office.
So what does that consist of, Sam? Obviously, this is 3 movies.
Mm-hmm. So the first one got $245 million grossing. Wow. Second one was 347, and then we're back down to 256 for Rush Hour 3. And there has been chat endlessly.
Is there a TV series?
There was a TV series, yeah. I don't know. I don't think it's still going. I think it maybe got 1 season, if that, and then it's the same thing as like Lethal Weapon.
Oh my God, what have we done? Sort of thing.
Lethal Weapon got a TV series as well. You haven't heard of that, have you?
Where's our TV series? The bar seems really low.
Yeah, true.
Anything is possible. But, well, it is when you're bringing in
the series.
A shit podcast no one listens to. The TV show.
The TV show. The
we weren't prepared for this change of format. It's just this.
And I think the difference between us getting our our foot in the door of TV production is that we haven't generated $850 million in box office.
Well, not if they don't give us a chance, Sam. Not if they don't give us the chance. I'm
just suggesting that might be a contributing factor to our lack of success. Thus otherwise. But I just think it's quite amazing because this is not if you were in 1998 and you said you've got Chris Tucker, who seemed to be like the 9th choice for this role. You've got Jackie Hu, to the point where I think another studio was like pitching around for this. Maybe Disney, presumably the what's it called? Floodlight Pictures? No.
Yeah,
Searchlight Pictures. Yeah, presumably Searchlight were looking at this. Yeah, and they were and they pictures. Ross. That's a different thing. That's a very, very different thing. They looked at this.
One subsidiary.
They looked at this movie and passed on it because they were like, "No, Jackie Chan. I don't think American audiences are going to appreciate this whatsoever." Now, that really does stand up there to being one of those like, "Oh, I'm going to regret that. I'm going to regret that decision."
You can imagine the boardroom meetings like, "All right, who rejected this?" I don't remember. I think it was you, Steve. Was it? I think it was a joint. I think it was like a room decision.
I was off that day.
I was sick.
Yeah, terrible headaches.
Because let's talk about Jackie Chan for a minute, because obviously that's all we want to talk about. what a phenomenal physical performer. But this is maybe, like you said, Sam, this is maybe his like first big non-dubbed, I should say, his first big non-dubbed
Yes.
US film. He'd done US
Mhm.
films before, but his English, he'd only been speaking English for a little while. So basically, previously, his English wasn't good enough, or he thought it wasn't good enough, so they would dub a voice.
Mhm.
So this is his first, like, this is Jackie Chan au natural doing his thing sort of movie.
Yeah.
So
And
that's the concern, isn't it? It's this Asian dude, like, and it's American markets who are notoriously like, where's the white guy? Like, I suppose the argument in the boardroom was like, right, okay, we've got the Asian guy, that's fine, and the black guy, we can't have both. Where's the white dude to get people out to the cinema? Like,
thought your
genuinely,
joke was gonna take a
that
different
must have
turn
been
there,
a
Dave.
conversation.
these racists will not watch anyone who doesn't look like them for more than 8 seconds. For more than that's it. They've not got a chance, and it's probably even worse now. Now, Jackie Chan is a phenomenon because he's been acting in various films, obviously mainly in China since the 1960s. He's done 150 movies, and does anyone know how old he is?
He's like mid-60s now, or
He's
probably creeping into
60.
70s.
He's 68. He's 68, and he has been in 150 movies, and he's been acting since the 60s. Now, I mean, I don't know if he's still doing stuff. I presume he's still knocking about. But
Well, do you know how Jackie Chan got his start?
tell me.
Oh man, I can't wait to tell you this. So Jackie Chan got a start because he used to be, I don't know what the word is. Let's say stunt double, but he was one of the the many henchmen that Bruce Lee would kick the shit out of in, I think it was Enter the Dragon.
Wow.
And basically, Bruce Lee accidentally real life kicked Jackie Chan and sent him fucking flying through like these screen doors. And basically, they yelled cut. Bruce Lee went over, very, very sort of like, regretful and, sorry, I kicked you. Jackie Chan's like, no problem, dust himself off. And Bruce Lee was like, that guy can take a kick. I want him in all my movies. So that's how Jackie Chan got his sort of big break. So he was recognized, this guy knows how to work. He's a professional. I want him with me. And essentially from there then,
God, I wish
there was
someone
actually a bit
famous
of like,
would kick me.
sorry?
So I wish someone famous would kick me. That's all it takes.
I picked you, Dave, for this podcast. Anyway.
He said kicked, and the problem is
I'll fucking kick the shit out of you.
the problem is, Dave, is that I don't think you have the physique or mental
Are you saying I
attributes.
can't take a kick like Jackie Chan?
From Bruce Lee.
I don't
From
think you
Bruce Lee. I mean,
You
Bruce
can
Lee
do
now,
a lot of
sure.
things, Dave.
Ghost Bruce Lee. I could take Ghost Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee.
You could take the kick. You wouldn't
Ross,
live.
Dave, I don't think you could get kicked from a chat room. Never mind get kicked in the fucking chest.
Take it.
Hey, I would say I can definitely get kicked from a chat room. Thank you very much.
But and so unfortunately, it takes a bit of a sad turn there because then when he was doing, after sort of Bruce Lee passed on, they were like, we need a new sort of like Chinese sort of martial artist star, and Jackie Chan got his break. And basically there was, I don't know all the details, but there was some like involvement with like the sort of the mafia, the Chinese mafia, because they were making money off of all of Jackie Chan's movies. And then he had to get like plastic surgery, so he looked a bit more like Bruce Lee. There was a whole seedy sort of thing there, and then he actually like went to America to sort of flee it a little bit. And that's like where he went, did his dubbed movies, etc. Came back, and yeah, that's how Jackie Chan got his start. Boom,
Yeah.
enlightened.
It's an interesting career, and like he's a huge part of like Hong Kong cinema at its peak, which is really interesting, like cool, like movement. And there's some fantastic movies made in that period, and he's kind of at the forefront of that.
What was the one that we've done in previous episode? It was a Hong Kong movie.
We did
Van
Damme
Ross.
movie.
That was your pick.
Bloodsport.
Bloodsport. Yeah. And actually, that's one of the worlds that has been opened up to me by that film. And I remember reading, like, really getting into like Hong Kong cinema, and just the fascination of that, and especially because you've got those. Isn't it like a like a square block that had like 40,000 people in or something? This like seedy, dark, dangerous place. And I think Bloodsport was the last film, or Western film anyway, to kind of shoot in there. And there's just a great history and so much going on there. And Jackie Chan is like and it's such an important formative part of that. But what I really find interesting, and it's great that we've done this film because it's like him moving across to the Western cinema, and that transition, how difficult actually that is. Because in this film, he struggles to speak English. You see the outtakes. He's still learning English. He's still trying to get his head around that. He's struggling to understand even some of the stuff that Chris Tucker is saying very fast.
You say I struggle to understand some of the stuff.
Yeah,
Chris Tucker is saying.
Thank goodness for the subtitles, because just the speed at which he speaks is difficult enough to keep up. And so it's just a great. It's like one of those things of, you think, this guy's done so many movies. The impact he's had is quite incredible. And then when you see that he's kind of done that all in China and around the world, and then again in the West, like that's an amazing achievement, and we haven't even talked about what he does on screen, which is probably the most impressive stuff. Such as, Ross, tell us about Jackie Chan and martial arts. This is where you speak.
Well, no problem. So I thought you had more, Sam. No problem. So you actually mentioned, Sam, that this was his first, or it might have been Dave, like his first sort of like movie in the US. Where it was undubbed. And I was actually thinking, I'm sure I knew of Jackie Chan before Rush Hour, and I was thinking, I was just clicking on his profile, and then I remembered he was in the Cannonball Run. That movie with Burt Reynolds. They did cast him as a Japanese race car driver, but nonetheless, he was in that movie. moving on. But he was in that.
Oh, Hollywood, why?
Yeah. Why, racist? But they didn't make much use of his sort of like his skills, other than there's like a scene near the end of the movie where basically shows off his martial arts there. But that just hit it for me, because I remember from Cannonball Run. And it was Fist of Fury that he was in for Bruce Lee. I just fact checked that. I was correct.
Well done. Good for you.
That's the main takeaway point. Ross was right.
Nice.
One of the interesting things about this production, certainly with Jackie Chan, is that they didn't really know how to shoot Jackie Chan. Like, obviously, you're starring alongside Chris Tucker, who is a fine performer, and we'll talk about him in more depth in a minute. But like, ultimately, you're gonna need a guy to do any kind of fall, because it's not, he's not that kind of performer. But Jackie Chan's the opposite, where you never need a stunt guy. Like, so you can shoot scenes with Jackie Chan fighting in a way that you could never shoot, like, Liam Neeson, for instance, fighting, because you'd see him, or you'd see that it wasn't him. So there's loads of shots in this movie, I don't know if you guys noticed as well, where Jackie Chan's kind of like at a weird angle where you can't really see his face.
Yeah.
And it's because that's the way that the film crew know how to shoot a fight scene, but they're not really taking advantage of the fact that it's Jackie Chan doing all of these own stunts. So you quite often see him like kind of flip into frame, or like do something like at the side of a shot, and you're like, why is that not the shot? Why is the shot not? Let's just watch what Jackie Chan's doing and like fucking enjoy that.
It was one of the
very strange.
Yeah, it was one of the contemporary criticisms as well. I think someone in Variety called out the editing for that, because you might shoot things with 2 or 3 cameras, depending on, especially an action scene where you've only got so many vases to break or whatever else, so you want to get it right, And I think when you think of Jackie Chan movie, and you think martial art movies in general, you often have that nice, relatively static wide shot that's there, because you want to see both of the the fighters, or the group that are.
Well, you want to see the fight, don't you?
You want to see and you also get to see then, the pacing is kind of led by the action, by the martial arts, rather than necessarily by edit, cut. Like let's pan now. We don't.
This isn't a Marvel fucking punch fight where we're just flashing between one CGI monster and another CGI monster punching each other.
Yeah, and so it's not.
I mean, there were other movies as well. Like, again, just before Rush Hour, he was in another. Like, he was in the US movie. It was called Rumble in the Bronx. I think this was dubbed though, and like some of the stunts he pulls there are insane. There was one bit where basically he gets run over by like this massive hovercraft, and then dusts himself off. Off he jolly well went. There was nothing then where he'd done this massive drop and he had to like practice it a few times. He broke his leg during filming, and then basically, okay, we got to put a cast on you because his character was wearing jeans. They painted the cast like the same color of jeans, and then he did the jump in the cast. They're like, okay, we got it, cut, done. Like the guy's incredible. He's absolutely incredible.
There's a fine line between bravery and labor abuses, though, isn't there?
Yeah.
You know,
I've seen him doing interviews. Like the guy has broken nearly everything in his body, and he said in an interview, wherever I haven't broke, he says I've gotten a scar or a really bad bruise. Like so, his dedication is incredible. I mean, credit where it's due as well. Although the sequels, in my opinion, are not as good, they do take much better advantage of Jackie Chan's abilities. I remember there's an opening scene in Rush Hour 2 where there's this cool fight scene on these bamboo scaffolding, and basically there's one scene where they climb up and Jackie Chan, he grabs onto one of the vertical poles and he gets kicked and the things snap, and he's basically holding onto this vertical pole as the vertical straps like snap in a line. And he basically, from like 5 stories up, he drops down to the ground, holding onto this bamboo shoot. It's incredible. All the while kicking the shit out of people, I should add.
Yeah, just on top.
And there's a kind of physicality there where maybe the movie didn't know what to do with him. Like, I was really actually surprised, sort of, because again, I haven't seen this before, and I know Jackie Chan obviously from like his involvement in his career. Yeah, personally.
Shame about all that support of the communist, like the Chinese Communist Party. But anyway, this
isn't that podcast, please.
Yet,
but like he gets top billing in this movie. It's got a credit sequence at the beginning, and it's Jackie Chan, not in massive letters, I should say, but it's Jackie Chan. And I think part of that is the fact that it's also Chris Tucker, so like he's not like what you would call like an A-list action star either. I mean, some of the people they wanted Eddie Murphy is like, I think
Martin Lawrence.
Martin Lawrence was attached to this for a while. They wanted Wesley Snipes, which I think would have been terrible.
I don't know. Well, hang on.
I don't think Snipes is as funny as this.
Well, Snipes can be funny, but the thing as well, don't forget about Snipes' own like physical ability. That guy can kick the shit out of people as well. Imagine those two teaming up back to back. That would be awesome. Or maybe even there's like a scene at the start where they fight each other and then they become friends. Man, I'd watch that.
No, I think
fanboying. What about Carl Weathers?
I think Tucker. Calm down. Go watch Predator, Ross. Jesus. I think Tucker is the only person for this, because you need the lightness. You need that. When you're in a buddy cop movie, you need to have the humor, and you need to have the contrast between a bit more serious. He's kind of like playing the straight man. Jackie Chan is, compared to now Chris Tucker's like.
Hang on. Are we forgetting? Sorry, Sam, I'm gonna have to cut you off here. Are we forgetting the levity that Wesley Snipes brought in Demolition Man?
I am, yes.
Ross, unbelievable. I can't believe what I'm hearing here.
Your letters to Wesley Snipes telling him how great you think he is. Let's not do it on air, please.
To prison.
Also, Carl Weathers would also be a fantastic spot here. Anyway, move on with your point, Sam.
You've completely derailed my point with your just obsession.
I think Chris Tucker's comedic performance in this is really important because, let's get down to brass tacks here. This is a really fun movie. It's not a great movie though. Like, actually, like the bones of it. Yeah. Like, this isn't like a fantastically well scripted movie. Like,
it's not well shot, as we've discussed. The music's pretty poor. Like location, and you think, why is this in LA? This is just really like what you've got Hong Kong just about. Like, you could still like. There's so many better places.
Well, it's fun and it's light and it moves and it's like the action's really good. And that kind of works based on the back of the fact that Chris Tucker's like a silly character.
And he's shouting.
And because he's silly and goofy, it lends the whole film, like, it doesn't take itself very seriously, which I think means that the fact that they've got all these really poorly developed bad guys and plots doesn't detract from the movie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, I wonder what the sequencing of this is, because he was in one of my favorite movies of all time, Fifth Element, playing, if you could believe it, and you haven't seen that film, a character more garish and shouty and outlandish
I pitched
than which is what I read.
Even faster.
Oh, Coben, come on, my man, Coben. Like, it's just, I love that film, and I love his performance in it, and the bravery of this, like, Def Jam comedian strutting in a ball gown with his hair that looks like a massive penis, and like, good Lord, who is your agent, Chris Tucker, and how did they agree to this and pay them way more than you do now? Because it's just amazing. Now, so he's coming out of that, and I wonder if he'd agreed that, because that was 97, Fifth Element, and I wonder if he was in the process of shooting already. I don't know, but I just think that there's so much that he brings to this movie, and I think without it, you end up with fucking some Carl Weathers or whatever else, like, not who's not going to bring the lightness, who's not going to bring the
some
comedy.
Respect on that tone when you mention Carl Weathers' name. How fucking dare you?
Maybe got
No,
Stugo.
you're right. And like, for me, he absolutely owns the role, and like, especially because, as we said, I think Jackie Chan's English in this movie is not maybe where it.
He's not
comfortable.
He's not a full Dolph Lundgren on the scale. He's like
No, he does in fact speak English. Yeah,
yeah. He is. He's not speaking whale like Dolph Lundgren is in
Swedish, I believe.
No, it's whale. Let's get into the weakness, and I'll just to do that, I'll read a plot summary of this film. So a loyal and
30 minutes in.
Yeah, hold on, I'm getting somewhere.
I love this new thing we're establishing where we review the thing, we talk about the movie. Oh, by the way, we should probably introduce it 30 minutes into the episode.
It's fine. If you haven't watched this film, what are you doing listening to this podcast? Unless our personalities are so dynamic that you're able to forego
it's not that.
any.
Well, as we discussed before we started recording, you guys are repellent. So it's my magnetism that's keeping
we are repellent, Ross.
I'm sorry, Ross. If we're all covered in shit, you're covered in shit too.
Well, the smell of shit does linger, doesn't it? So yeah,
it does. It really does. Yeah. So, in a loyal and dedicated Hong Kong inspector teams up with a reckless and loudmouth LAPD detective to rescue the Chinese consul's kidnapped daughter while trying to arrest a dangerous crime lord along the way, which makes it sound like a bit of a romp. Now, this is the weakest part of the film. Like,
which part?
I couldn't give a fuck about this little kid. The consul's daughter, like, all of it ends up being way too overcomplicated. Number one, why aren't we in Hong Kong? Because I think that's like a much more, and when the movie opened,
issues,
probably.
Cheap.
But when the movie opens and you do get those scenes, you're like, "What? Yes, I'm in for this. I'm in for like Hong Kong fighting cinema," and that doesn't end up happening. That's fine, but you just, it's quite complicated, isn't it? You know, you've got this daughter, and then you've got the baddie, who I can't remember the name of him, the actual like mafia guy. No, the other one. And so it ends up just, and you just think, was there not like just a simpler plot, like there's a drug deal going down, or whatever it is? But this kid, I struggle to engage with it as a.
I think it establishes it fairly easily. She's not in the movie a lot.
But exactly, there's no threat though, is there? There's no threat because they're not going to murder this kid. This girl is not going to get killed. You just know that. Whereas I think that I kind of wanted, you've put in the face, Ross, but I kind of wanted I want stakes. I want actual stakes rather than she's singing pop songs at the start,
Yeah, that's valid. But at the same, in the same breath, you're saying
but
no, well, also yes, that. But you're saying, that nothing's going to happen to the child, but you also know the heroes are going to save the day. But you're still along for the ride to which they get to that point.
I guess.
I think you're being a little unfair here, and that's the nicest way I can.
I would agree. I think it's fine, Sam. I think it's a bit weak, but it's not as bad as a fucking Taken movie.
It's not Othello. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, it should be. No, it's fine.
I I really love the setup of we get. I love the initial bust in Hong Kong. I think is a great like Jackie Chan, like he's jumping around and scooting through windows and rolling off stuff. It's a great scene. Kind of want a whole movie of that. But
He's
There's
probably made
149
several.
of them.
Yeah.
there's a lot, yeah. And we get that, and it's great. You're like, oh my god, it's Jackie Chan, fantastic. And then we get all the Chris Tucker stuff, which is like
It's a
everything
contrast.
from the Corvette he's driving to what he's wearing to his like loudmouth, brash attitude. The fact that he's sexually harassing his co-worker, and he's just like sat around telling all his buddies about how he blew up half the city. I just think it's like you can imagine how they wanted Eddie Murphy for this role. Like absolutely, that was what struck me while watching it. Was like,
Yeah.
oh, they obviously wrote this for Eddie Murphy.
But then they would have just made it Beverly Hills Cops
Exactly
9 or whatever.
That is Chris Tucker. makes it Beverly Hills Cop, except he's bad at his job. Like
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy in Beverly Hills Cop is good at
Yeah.
like I'm gonna do the patter, I'm gonna talk my way out of stuff, and it's all gonna be fine. But then Chris Tucker's like that, but inept. And I think that undertone of ineptness in this movie is chef's kiss, because he
Yeah.
just sells the role. Like the
Yeah.
first bit where he shoots the trunk full of C4 and it blows up and nobody's hurt.
And he's sitting there doing the Michael Jackson dancing, and you're like, he's such a loser. Now, cop movies, we always criticize propaganda for like glorifying the police because police, fuck yeah, we'll burn down half a city to catch one guy because we're the police, fuck yeah. Like and actually, while this is that.
A bus full of school kids to catch a drug dealer.
To catch, yeah. And there's loads of darker jokes we can make about that. There's just loads of stuff. There's loads of stuff in in this film where number one, he's shit, and number two, the LAPD is shit as well. Because there's a bit where with the police chief who's he's like goading and he's tricking Tucker to think that he's got some great thing, and he's like, yeah, we need to remind people that we can still blow shit up. And this is in the 90s. Well, and they even say we're the most hated police force in the United States because we've got Rodney King and all that stuff.
That my mother tells people I'm a drug dealer.
Yeah, no, I don't tell people I can't tell people I'm a police officer because we're the most hated force in America. All of that's great, and I think it goes to your point, Dave, of like Tucker is shit at his job. He's really shit, and you kind of need that because it makes it funny and it makes his character completely inept, and that contrasts to Jackie Chan, who comes in and knows how to do shit.
Competent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's very fun. So basically we get that's the kind of setup of the movie, isn't it? Is that Tucker is babysitting Lee as like because he fucked up this
complex maneuvering where the Chinese ambassador has insisted that he's bringing his own guy over. The FBI have said, well, I'm not having this Asian guy coming over and do my job. Is basically the rhetoric from Boggs from Shawshank Redemption, by the way.
Boggs, yeah.
Yes. 4 years earlier, he was raping Tim Robbins.
Arrest that man. God, that's a harrowing film, isn't it? Jesus, every time.
His performance in this maybe lacks the menace of his performance in Shawshank.
Yes, that's
Not the same energy at all.
That's good direction. See that thing he did in Shawshank? Don't do that. And he's like,
You are
Dial that
making
back
anyone
by
business.
90%.
wow, thank you for that insight.
But the FBI basically decide that but they don't want to waste their own time babysitting this guy from China who they're certain is going to be no help whatsoever, even in dealing with this Chinese gang. Don't worry about it, it's fine. Who were in Hong Kong like fucking 3 weeks ago. But again, let's not worry about it. The FBI obviously know what they're doing. So they contact the LAPD and get Chris Tucker to like be seconded to them to babysit Jackie Chan. It's actually quite convoluted, and there's a lot of hoops to jump through to get them there.
Yes.
But we do get some fun scenes from it. We get the FBI guys making fun of Chris Tucker, who's too stupid to know what's going on. We get the LAPD. All the detectives sat around laughing around the phone in the captain's office. Is a fantastic scene when he rings them to say, like, what the fuck am I doing watching this guy? And they're all like, fuck you.
Yeah, that really made me laugh. And it's because he is such a shit as well. He's such a shit, and he's so cocky, and he's just like, and it's, you kind of want him to fail in many senses, even though he's, you know, one of the two main characters. You're like, yeah, you're such a dickhead. Take that. And then we get more of his pigheadedness and ignorance when he's like, do you speak English? Do you
understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Yeah, like shouting at his at Chan. Do
you know where that line specifically came from? So basically, like when they first had their meeting about this, you know, for the movie, Jackie Chan, Chris Tucker in the room, and basically they had the meeting, you know, it was going well. At the end of the meeting, like Jackie Chan turned to his agent and he says, I cannot because Chris Tucker was speaking so fast. Jackie Chan turned to his manager and said, I cannot understand any of the words that are coming out of his mouth. Verbatim, that's what he said. I can't understand.
In the movie, yeah.
That's
I kind of understand that though, because it's kind of part of the movie is that like Chris Tucker is this like stereotypical American, and he's like, "Get in the car,"
yeah.
You know, just shouting at him, and it's so good. And then the reveal of he speaks English is just brilliant.
And that's been done so many times before, isn't it? That's a proper trope, but it works excellently in this because of just how like boorish the Tucker's character is. Now again, this is where we get it's complicated. So he's they're like the LAPD and this Chinese cop coming over, like, and they're working with the FBI, but then the FBI, the consulate, and blah 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 blah. And I'm a bit lost, to be honest. I know that's not exactly the most complicated plot in the world, but I do think like fucking hell, this is just what's. But we get the interactions between Tucker and Chan and the FBI. I love like the FBI character in films. We see it all the time, you know, like they're always a bit kind of stuck up, you know, they're like the federal agents, and they're always it's the feds.
There's a great
Who's in charge here? I am. Not anymore, you're not. FBI.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a great South Park bit which Ross is doing there, which is like, the FBI come in and they take over, and it's like, just the FBI. They just come in and they take over, and they don't know what they're doing. Great, lovely.
And it's a trope we see everywhere, and I wonder. I always think, I wonder what the first instance of that is. I could probably look it up. But it's really effective in this, and the antagonism between what the FBI are trying to do, which is legitimately catch this bad guy, and what Chris Tucker is trying to do, which is just, you know, shout all over the place.
It seems like the FBI's playbook, and this is in every movie, for a kidnapping is, we pay them. We'll pay them, put the tracking chip in the money. They'll invariably suss that out, but we'll pay them, and we'll rely on someone going rogue and resolving this problem for us. That's always what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You should pay them. Really? I mean, have you ever seen this go well when you don't pay them? Just pay them.
Just pay them. It's a lot easier. Also, it's your daughter, so I mean, you know, like
where's this Chinese diplomat getting $70 million from? By the way, they never really established that well either.
Oh, he's rich. He's rich.
That's a lot of money, Ross.
Established
in 1998.
Yeah. We have skipped over something that I think is interesting and it's quite important for the film, is that the opening is in the last like day of British rule of Hong Kong, and so we get the baddie who turns out to be the baddie, played by what's his face? He was in Batman, wasn't he?
Yeah, some white guy.
Tom Wilkinson. It's Tom Wilkinson.
He plays the bad guy, the English bad guy. He's such a good like accent sort of actor, because he's like like you say, he's Falcone in Batman. He's also he's like is he King George, I think, in The Patriot with Mel Gibson. He's
Yes.
Yeah,
No,
well
no,
done.
he's not King George. He's Cornwallis, isn't he? He's the general.
whatever,
He's
you
not
know,
the
he was
king.
in,
The king isn't in that movie, Ross.
whatever.
King
Do
isn't
you know what I
riding
mean?
into battle
Well,
against.
hang on, well, I
the
said it,
War
and you
of
went yes.
Independence.
So fuck you. I was
Yeah.
close
I
enough.
have to
No,
say, Dave, your
I'm fairly
outrage
sure he's
is.
Cornwallis. I'm fairly sure he's General Cornwallis.
Right, you go and Google that and prove how right you are, and we'll carry on talking about this.
We'll go on with the podcast.
He is as well as he is. I can see his phone out.
Well, fucking
So-
keep talking then. Do a podcast.
I'm trying. You distracted me, and this is further distracting now. So,
Kick him from the room.
fuck you, Dave.
Let's see if he can put his money where his mouth is.
Fair. What are you fucking me about?
I don't know. But yes, so British, so it's the handover, and so that's a great context because it's like an interesting point in history in 1997 when it happened, and here he comes. We can't see your screen. You have to talk because it's an audio podcast. I'm afraid, Dave.
I'm right, basically.
Okay, that's
Look,
fine.
Tom Wilkinson is as Lieutenant General Charles Cornwallis.
You can add that to your fantasy list of points that you've gained over us in
Good
that
pull though, Ross.
spreadsheet.
Remember when he was in that movie? Because I haven't seen that movie. That's a terrible movie.
Oh, woeful. Tune
I
in
mean,
next
Mel
week,
Gibson
folks.
has a rich career of bad movies, but that's one of them.
He's quite an.
And was still considered successful until he started blaming Jewish people for things.
Yeah, and even then
Heath Ledger's in
seemed
that
to get
movie as well,
work.
I think
He was, yeah.
he's the
Heath
son.
Ledger.
Yeah, that's a stay tuned. We're gonna watch that movie.
I don't think we can
That's
blame Mel Gibson for that.
What for the Wars of Independence.
For what happens to Heath Ledger?
You never know though. Does he have an alibi? Where was he?
Yikes,
We're
let's
asking the
move on.
question.
I'm sorry, Ross. You set that up. You are completely
Sorry,
responsible
is
for
Mel
that.
Gibson particularly litigious against podcasts with no listenership?
I guess we'll find out.
Accusing him of crimes he's almost certainly not guilty of. And the crimes he
Of
definitely
murder.
is guilty of.
Of murder, no less. Murder. Yeah. I
You're
forgot
saying that.
my.
I'm not
I've-
saying that.
I
You're
have
saying
forgot. I have forgotten my point. But I think what we get is a great, like, he's obviously the bad guy from the beginning. Quite clearly, he's a British guy in a movie. They're always the bad guys. They're always that's how it works. And it's
I
good.
love that you were like, oh, he's obviously the bad guy in the movie. Because I remember when I was watching this the first time and it was revealed he was the bad guy. And I was like, who?
Huh?
Should I know you? Who?
I've got some kind of face
You know,
blindness,
this is
and
one
I
of
can't tell the
this is one of those
difference.
situations- This is one of those situations where you're both right. Like, yes, Sam, of course it's the white guy we see at the beginning of the movie. Yes, Ross, of course you can't be expected to remember who he is. Because you see him in one scene, and he's like fucking serving port or something, and you're like, all right, it's just some dude.
They're
I think
toast-
why is the Chinese guy with the blonde hair
what I-
not the villain of this movie?
Well, he is, but obviously you need someone.
He's a
who's-
henchman. Do you not
Well, he's
think?
yeah, somewhat.
But, you
But
can
he's like
have him
he's the
be
most
bad guy.
he's the most prominent sort of bad guy, like that from Jackie Chan brought over, that his character brought over. You need the Chinese bad guy because you got a Chinese good guy,
Yeah. Well, I guess it does make sense, and you do get that the kind of martial arts face off, then, don't you, as well, which is part of that.
There's
The
not
great
much martial arts in this movie.
Well,
There's not much fighting.
that is a big thing, isn't it? That is a big thing. We've spoken about how it's shot, but we don't really get to see it, in that sense.
It's interesting you say that because I was reading more of the trivia on this, like for this podcast, and they actually what's the word where they show it to people, before they release
The
it
test
publicly.
screenings, yeah.
The test screenings, and basically everyone said that they wanted more like martial arts action from Jackie Chan. Like specifically said they want to see more Jackie Chan. So that scene, where Jackie Chan,
Movie executives are so stupid, aren't they?
unbelievable.
Of course, you want more fighting from Jackie Chan.
So that scene where Jackie Chan is fighting off the henchmen whilst also trying to preserve the ancient Chinese artifacts, like that thing with the vase.
Amazing.
That was recorded post recording and everything.
Which makes sense because you're only getting Jackie Chan back, and there's no one else in that scene.
Yeah.
It's just sort of. but it's still not enough, you know. And I think like Chris Tucker's great, and I enjoy how inept he is in all the fights. I really love the which one of you kicked me in the Chinese
That's
restaurant.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
That's from the Seven
His
Samurai.
reaction of like his days, and he's like, which
Is that
one
from a
of you
different film,
kicked
Ross?
me?
That's from the Seven Samurai, where basically one of them gets drunk and he gets struck, and he basically the samurai doesn't know which one, so he goes, "Which one of you hit me?" So it's a direct sort of wink to that.
Because I was reading as well that Brett Ratner, who directed this film, and just lots of shit afterwards. Sorry, Brett, but oh, good lord. He I think actively went out and like picked bits from other movies, films that Western audiences wouldn't necessarily have seen, and scenes and jokes and stuff like that, because he could just reuse them. And it's an homage. Actually, it just says we have to do any writing for that scene whatsoever. Yeah. So, but Brett Ratner seems like one of those directors who is just coasting along on the rush hour money and basically doesn't have to do anything else.
So if we can backtrack, just to backtrack ever so slightly, because the final fight between Sang, who is the bad guy from China, played by Ken Leung, I think. Basically, I thought you were going to get a fight between him and Jackie Chan. You know what I mean? And but if you guys remember, the face off for Sang was basically, Chris Tucker tells him to drop his weapon. He doesn't drop his weapon, tries to get the drop on him, and he shoots him. That's it. For a guy who has like martial arts training and completely underutilized.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen a fight between him and Jackie Chan, or something along those lines. But
I think it's tough, really, because I think it's quite a well written scene. In that, like, it's calling back to something else earlier in the film. It kind of underlines the fact that he's a bad guy, in that like he gets Chris Tucker like, "Oh, we'll drop your gun and then we'll fight," and then he plans on shooting him, not because he couldn't beat him in a fight, but because he's a bad guy. Yep. Like he's just going to shoot him because he's a shit. I thought it was a really cool like action movie bit, not necessarily like maybe like a character bit. And maybe you're right, Ross. We could have had like a cool Jackie Chan kind of like boss fight at the end of this. That would have been really nice. But I think it's a good Chris Tucker moment. Where we've established that he's got two guns a lot in this movie. So I think it's actually like quite a well set up scene from that point of view.
But why not both? This is an hour and a half movie. Like
literally about to say, you could have had the exact same scene, except 2 minutes beforehand, Jackie Chan and Sang have this cool martial arts fight, and then Sang, through some dastardly underhanded technique, manages to get the drop. Manages to get the drop on Lee. And then Chris Tucker comes in with his gun. You could have had that, no problem.
Yeah. I think the reason is that it's just too complicated. There's too much like there's too many scenes going on. The whole bomb disposal character. I think she's doing
C4 and having it explode.
I think she's doing a good job as the actress, but I just think like, do we need this in here? This feels like we're. Can I just read you a little bit of some of the plot synopsis on Wikipedia, just to underline just how much is going on. So we've got the FBI traces a call to the warehouse where the agents are killed by plastic explosive. Spotting Sang, Lee and Carter give chase, but he escapes, dropping the detonator, and then LAPD officer, bomb expert, fixes it, and then we go to. Lee presses Clive into revealing his business relationship with John Tao, who met at a Chinese restaurant, earning Carter's trust. Carter goes to the restaurant alone and surveil blah, 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 on and on. However, Carter refuses to give up and appeals to Johnson to sneak aboard Lee's plane, where he persuades the Hong Kong detective to help them stop John Tao together. Griffin later involved himself in the case, revealing, and just like on and on and on. And just like,
the
who are these people?
The reveal of who the bad guy is that Tucker saw him on the CCTV at the restaurant, but like he goes, "That's the bad guy," and then everyone else goes, "Oh, it's the bad guy," and he immediately grabs a gun and a hostage, and you're like, you're not going to want to deny that, or maybe like call him a liar. It's this random guy.
What are you talking about?
No. What are you talking about? No, I'm going to grab a gun and threaten to shoot someone. Oh, I've rather outed myself as the bad guy, haven't I?
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Oh no, you've discovered my dastardly plan, despite me not giving
Now
you
I'm
any
going to
reason to do
take my
so.
suitcase. This is also what got me. I'm going to take my suitcase with $50 million, 20 million of which is in $50 notes,
The weight.
20 million of which is worth in 20 million in $10 notes, and 10 million of which is in $10 notes. And
no-
I, a white man in my
Right.
60s, I'm going to lift this one suitcase with probably like 600 kilos of paper in it.
Oh God, my hernia.
You need a fucking wagon to move this much
And they're sort of
physical money.
they're sort of getting the fucking rafters of the LA Convention Center.
And just shoving it into suitcases.
And it's just like, what the fuck is going on here? This is absolutely insane. I just
This is what I
think
was saying earlier when I said it's kind of a bad movie, but like it's good. But like this is why it's not a
Yeah.
great movie, because
and
they
it's
really didn't overwrite this at all. This wasn't overcooked.
no, this is the first take. This is the first take. I think it really does. You get to a point in a movie where you've accepted everything that's going on, and you kind of don't really need. You don't really need the construct. You don't really need the excuses. You can just show me. You can just have. Now they're in the convention center. We don't need all these people here. We don't need Chris Tucker to stand up and say, "Bah, bah, bah, everyone get out. I've got to." We need none of that. We go, okay, we're doing the drop at the convention center. Fine, that's it. That's enough. Cut 2 minutes out of that, and then look next door. There's a load of valuable vases. As we saw in Moonraker. Like we can have the priceless the priceless artifacts which will be
Chekhov's
destroyed
vase.
later. Yeah, like we don't need to have all of this. There's a cultural convention about Chinese blah blah blah. None of that. Cut it. Get rid of it. Just show me the fight. And then we could have more room for that. And I just, I'm scrolling on my phone a little bit by this point. All right, okay, I'm back. Oh no, it's off.
It feels like the first draft of the script, and like they were like, we could spend a couple of weeks like hamming out the actual plot, tightening it up, getting rid of some of the stuff we don't need, some of the exposition we don't need. But early day,
Yeah.
let's go to the beach. Let's just have a couple of weeks off. And they were like, nah, fuck it, it's fine. And the movie works because they rely on the fact that you've got Jackie Chan, who's a phenomenal actor, and Chris Tucker, who's I think really, really good in this movie. And I should say, actually, most of like the secondary characters, like are really good character actors, mostly. And like that's what the movie hangs on, is the fact that like most of the rest of it's just okay, but the bits that really work, like it's fun.
Can I take this moment to highlight the level of overkill they had on this child? So if you remember, like throughout this episode, right, or throughout this movie,
you mean this valuable suitcase?
Hang
with
on,
diamonds,
yeah.
or whatever else it could be.
Hang on. So all through the movie, they were like, "Oh, someone's buying up all the C4. Someone's doing this, that, and the other. Oh, they've got a special kind of detonator. Oh my God, what can it be used for?" And they've packed a vest. Right, they've packed all this C4 into a vest, so you have to assume that's a considerable amount of C4, right? And then they put the vest on a child,
Who's like having to plod along because it's so heavy.
Guys, it's even
It's
worse
weighing her
than that.
down.
They then put her in a van with one guard just outside the place where where the guy is.
I mean, I think they would have struggled to even
Put her
get
in-
one guard. That's the thing. Hey, who's going to guard this
Is
girl?
the
Not
FBI
fucking me. Have you
Is
seen the amount of C4?
Like, protocol? Shouldn't the FBI protocol being like, right, okay, they've told us where the drop's going to be happening, right? Can we just do a little quick? Can everyone just turn around 360 degrees? See any white vans parked? Anything? Any unmarked vans just anywhere? We can investigate them and then we can go in and it's fine. But just in case, because it's always a white van, unmarked, that we can see from where we're counting the money.
There's this thing called a sniffer dog, which can pretty effectively find explosives. And you think
I was trying to highlight the fact that they had all this C4 and they put it on a child. So for now, I get into pedantic cast because I'm thinking, why did you buy all this C4? If it was just to kill a child, then buy a little C4. Buy enough C4 that it doesn't raise suspicions amongst FBI and LAPD agents. Just buy a little C4.
It's also, well, if you're going to kill
or a bullet.
then you're not going to get any money. So
Yeah.
surely just like put, I mean, the level of security that they are applying to this kid is quite insane. And I kind of thought like
they don't well establish what the bad guy wants, really. Do
No.
they? He's like Dr. Evil. He's like $1 million, and you're like, that's not that
Billion,
much money,
jillion.
if I'm gonna kidnap a kid and threaten to I'm doing it for way more than $70 million. I mean, I've got to say, like,
heard it here,
if you're listening, potential clients of my future Hitman business, we're looking at a clean 100 at least.
You kidnapping kids for killing them, Sam, because a Hitman business is different
Really?
than a kidnapping business.
I'd kidnap a child for much less than that.
Hey, you're undercutting me. Are you undercutting me, you piece of shit?
Hey, that's capitalism, bitch.
This is how friendships and potential Hitman companies fail at the first hurdle.
Hey,
That's
let's
your movie.
sell. Let's sell that. Yeah, let's sell that screenplay. Hitman. Oh, compete. Oh, it must have been done. I guess Mr. and Mrs. Smith, like, but they're married. Can we marry Ross? Can that doable?
Well, you have Mr. and Mrs. But you could have, like, because you have the Hitman's Bodyguard, you could have the Hitman's best friend who created his own Hitman business. That title.
Isn't that already a
flows off the
movie,
page.
Ross? The Hitman's bodyguards, dogs,
That's what I'm saying.
wives.
You have the
friends.
Hitman's Bodyguard, so you have a mouthful of a title. So then you have the Hitman's best friend who also started the Hitman business.
Is that what it says on there?
Parentheses, who also started a Hitman business. The Hitman's
Dwayne
best
the
friend.
Rock Johnson in.
Yeah, Dwayne the Rock Johnson is Ross. Vin Diesel is Sam.
Wow.
Zach Galifianakis is Dave.
I love the eye. I love the.
Really,
I love the eye.
I feel a bit upset that Dwayne the Rock Johnson is playing you, Ross, when he's about twice your height.
Do you not see it?
I mean, all bald men do look alike to me, yes. But
I'll take Vin Diesel, to be honest, considering my physique. Dave, you are Zach Galifianakis, unfortunately. I'm very sorry.
apparently,
Or
unfortunately.
Steven Spielberg is Dave. For those of you who don't know,
I feel like I've
Dave's
got
our-
more of a Michael Moore look going on.
Yeah, but like, you know, you're Michael Moore when he looks great, and I think
I really appreciate that. I'm not sure
comparison.
Michael Moore,
We should stipulate
like
by
peak
comparison.
Michael Moore, but at least I'm not like fat and tired Michael Moore. I mean, I am
It's
fat
not a
and
compliment,
tired, but
Dave.
You should be
It's
You're
confused
just
about
talking
that.
tired, Dave.
you're a man in your early 30s. Peak Michael Moore was at least 45. So I just
Oh, Dave, buddy, aim higher. Okay.
Sorry,
Are you all right?
I can't aspire to fucking Vin Diesel, Sam, and Dwayne Johnson, Ross.
I settled.
I think we all come away from this with the roles that the actors who were born to play us in our fantastic movie. What was it called, Ross? What was that snappy title? I can't remember.
Hitman's bodyguard's friend.
No,
Parentheses,
Dave, don't butcher
started-
it. Don't pay the respect it deserves. It's the Hitman's best friend, parentheses, who also started the Hitman's business.
Okay, right. Bodyguards.
Starring.
Is that not what-
Bodyguards. Oh, it's a franchise.
Not bad.
The
Bodyguard.
Bodyguards franchise.
Bodyguard.
I smell sequel.
Sam, if you're going to show me up, man, at least give it like 10 minutes to say, at least you thought about it a little bit. You don't just come out with a fucking winner immediately.
Listen, Ross, some people have talent, some people run an unsuccessful bodyguard business, and I'm afraid you're going to go you're going for the latter. You're going for the latter there. Bodyguard. Well, there we go. Let's not release this episode because I think we're going to really lose. Someone's going to steal this idea. Someone's going to steal this idea.
We're joking. I actually think that's a movie that would be made.
Yeah, by
That's
us,
a
Ross.
fucking brilliant
By us
title.
in 2 years' time.
I'm jealous, man. Oh,
Warner Brothers, we are available. So anyway, something to do with Rush Hour. I can't remember where we are in this film, but
what do we think of the name Rush Hour? Like for a movie? Because
they have that moment in the film, don't they, where they say, "It's Rush Hour."
the cop pulls them over. The fake cop pulls them over. Like, what's the problem, officer? No problem. Just rush hour. Bang, bang. You're like, that's... And then, what are they expecting to go, that's why they called it Rush
Yeah,
Hour.
like, did the guy turn around and was like, "Look, there's a camera there. You see it?
No!
You're on Rush Hour." It doesn't. I don't know. it's perfectly
I think
meaningless.
the idea is like that maybe they were going to have more car stuff in this, and like it's maybe giving
You
more of
think?
like a maybe because Rush Hour would seem to be like, oh, well, there, this Chinese detective and this LAPD officer, they're like driving around Los Angeles, and that maybe that it was much more of like a we're going to drive around LA, and actually we didn't get that for various reasons, but
Rush Hour to
they,
me,
the name stayed.
Rush Hour to me, it sounds like it was a project. Like this was the name until they think of the name, and then they couldn't think of the name. They're like,
Yeah,
Rush Hour? Yeah, sure.
it does feel like one of those like
Kitschy
Hong
type-
Kong-ish movies. You know what I mean? Like the
Yes,
the
actually,
kind of
good
martial
point, good
arts,
point.
like
Yeah.
that flick. I can't think of a single example off the top of my head right now, but you know that kind of just like, well, what does that mean? Doesn't like Bloodsport. There we go. It doesn't. You kind of like, well, what does that mean? But there's enough there to attract
Sports
you.
salmon, there's blood. That's
Yeah, where there's
perfectly
blood
explanatory.
involved. Yeah,
Yes,
Yeah,
oh, well,
but-
listen,
yeah,
not
guys,
exactly the Da
really
Vinci
clear
Code,
on
Sam.
I'm not saying it has the. I'm not saying it has the. the Da Vinci Code.
Sat there with a pen and paper. Blood plus sport.
He's that
Question
meme
mark,
of like
question
Charlie
mark,
Kelly
question
from It's
mark.
Always Sunny, all the red string in the newspapers,
Listen, guys, the next time,
cigarette
like a
hanging out of his
meme.
mouth.
if unless you're contributing golden ideas like Bodyguard, right, you can just shut up. You can shut
I will
up.
say, Sam, that is excellent, but you should maybe understand more about what the movie Bloodsport is
A
about.
whole lot better about myself now, by the way.
Well, that's you cut out the Bodyguard royalties right there for that insult.
Yeah, you
Sam
could have
with
been
his
back
pipe
in the seventh
and
movie,
his smoking
Ross.
jacket. Bloodsport. What could it possibly mean?
Wait a minute, it's a sport. That's bloody. By
Jove, I've got it.
You know what I'm saying, though. You know what I'm saying. It's suitably vague. It's suitably vague.
It's not.
I say, dear wife, hand me that book.
But it's not. It's not like, oh, we're gonna. It's not rounds of fighting that end in, you know, a winner. As
Literally,
Exactly
is.
what it is.
it's not.
What's
That.
the- It's a competition. It's a fighting
There
tournament.
were literal rounds, battles, fights, where people lost. Fuck me.
Still,
I don't know why it said starring Jean-Claude Van Damme. He wasn't in the movie once.
listen. You're not paying me for my perception, all right? So I don't think we need to. We need
That's
to.
another Forrest Whitaker's wife white fucking movie, isn't it?
that is yes. I think we discussed that on our previous episode where we and what's the other one? Phone booth.
Phone booth.
Poor Forrest Whitaker.
Not one phone. Not one phone in that movie.
No.
Phone booth, but what's it about? The name should be clearer.
That's a good example of a good title. To be fair, you know, it's not quite.
Yeah, it's a
Bloodsport.
thinker.
Yeah, but makes you think.
Oh man, I'm so glad
So-
I brought the title. I'm so glad I brought
It's
this. Up.
excellent.
Wouldn't have that fucking gem.
So the end of this film
Why are we
is
still talking about this
because
movie?
because we haven't had the ridiculousness of like they've got this C4 bomb that could, you know, leave Los Angeles a crater at this point, tied to their only valuable asset, which is this little girl, and so they just, you know, how do they deal with that? They kind of just Chris Tucker brings her out and gets her to shout, "Shoot me!" And like, it's not a good plan. I mean, at this point, they don't have anything to lose. They're clearly not going to get the 70 million, and you just their only asset there, just wanting to shoot the girl, and that's it, and you can still kind of get away with it. They don't do that, and Chris Tucker just cut the suit off. The C4 off, and you think again, why is she wearing all this C4? There's no need for this at all. Put her in a lake, in a square, glass cube, surrounded by sharks and mines, and then you might have a more effective. And then you might have a more effective
I
place
feel like your
to keep it
costs are
safe.
gonna go way up, Sam. If you're having to like rent a lake and plastic boxes full of air and
In
sharks.
Los Angeles, Sam. Right.
Yeah, come on.
I'm just saying it's much more effective if they don't know where the girl is, and they don't have her, as you say, Dave, 20 minutes outside the convention center. You know,
20 seconds, Sam. She's right outside the front door.
yeah, right there. but it's an okay ending. Like I think again we kind of want more fighting. We want a little bit more.
All's well
It's
that
fine.
ends
We
well,
get the
isn't it?
stinger of like we're going to Hong Kong. We get Chris Tucker's telling the FBI to get fucked. We get lots of Chris Tucker to like flirting with this woman. We get the really funny scene, which I really love the bloopers of, where the air hostess says, "Oh, we'll talk about bloopers in a second." The air hostess says to Chris Tucker, "Would you like some peanuts?" And he thanks her in Chinese.
Shishi me,
And then he says to and then Jackie Chan says, "Oh, you speak Chinese?" He says, "You never asked." And it's a great like stupid moment
throwback.
in the movie.
Yeah.
But like I love the bloopers where he's trying to say it and Jackie Chan's like, "You can't even fucking say 3 words in Chinese."
Yeah.
Well, he's saying like,
Basically,
he says, I struggle with English. He says, you can't say 3 words.
And presumably this was shot at the end. You know, this was shot one of the last things that was shot in the movie because you can see like they've obviously been taking the piss out of Chan for all this time because he's struggling, and now he gets to his own back when
that is a staple thing though with Jackie Chan movies. Like like 9 times out of 10 you'll see bloopers, which is where I saw. Where I was describing at the beginning of this episode where Jackie Chan drops off this massive height and breaks his leg. That was in the blooper of Rumble in the Bronx.
Blooper / gore movie, gore clip.
yeah. Snuff movie. Yeah.
Fucking live leak or some shit. Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about bloopers now. We just don't get enough of this, do we? Like,
I love it.
Is there... Sometimes I'll watch something and it's actually... it's funnier. The bloopers are funnier than the actual film or TV show.
Well, the one thing that comes to mind is, and I just watched it recently, but Extras with Ricky Gervais.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gervais.
Yes.
And basically, it's that scene where Gervais. It's that scene where Andy Millman, played by Ricky Gervais, walks into the office, and Stephen Merchant, who plays his agent,
I know it.
is masturbating to this like sort of revealing lady pen.
The pen.
And watching them try and get through that scene is like, sits down, were you having a wank? Just like getting through that with straight and just watching them like there'll be silence. Next thing, were you having a wank? And they crack. It's so good.
They call it corpsing, don't they? And it is funny, right? It is funny, and I think, and in that clip, what you see is that it's 5:15 p.m. We've been doing this for 12 hours, and everyone is tired, and everyone wants to get home, and it's not fun anymore. It's not just say the fucking line. Stop laughing because I've got to go pick up my kids, and I'm hungry, and we are paying $10,000 a minute to be here. Fucking say the line. It's not fun anymore.
Stephen Merchant actually said that in an interview about Extras, because he was saying like for the UK office he was very much behind the scenes, and when Ricky and like whoever else was doing a scene and they'd be corpsing, he always thought like that they were letting themselves do this and it was completely disrespectful. Can't believe they're doing this, and get through it. And he says now that you're in the seat, he says you've no control over it, and that's right. Like from my little stint, like knowing this, I know like when you're corpsing, you want to not laugh at all, but there's something there. There's something there, and the slightest tickle.
It's that human thing. Trying not to laugh invariably makes you want to laugh even more. Like you do exactly the wrong thing, like to stop yourself.
Don't laugh right now.
Like, yeah, exactly.
It's
and it's so difficult. And I think when you see what I love about bloopers though is that you get to see that they're actually having fun. And I think in this movie, you can see that all the way through the film, they must have been having a good time because you get the same, and that comes off on the screen as well. And so I always like it in films because you think you're confident enough to know that like it's okay. We understand that these are actors.
It's playful.
And it's playful, and it kind of finishes. It's a bit like finishing your film with applause. The old classic Star Wars technique, because I'm clapping, everything's happy and good. It's like I'm going to finish the film, and I'm going to make you laugh with something that isn't written. This is just funny shit. It kind of it works in that same way. But let's have more bloopers.
It lends itself to the tone of the film. You're not going to get like a really serious Marvel movies aren't going to end with a blooper reel, are they? Because then the
but
tone
they should.
but they're not trying for that kind of like silly
know.
tone. It's like Saving Private Ryan ending with the blooper reel. You know, it would take from the seriousness of the movie.
But movies
if it was
like
a
this,
blooper reel
yeah.
of like rubber guns.
I mean,
God.
You know,
like
God, here come-
Deadpool. I'd love to see a blooper reel for that. You know, just like genuine comedy movies. Yeah, I get maybe not Marvel because they need the post credits scene. But
I can't move past Saving Private Ryan blooper reel. I can't move past it. You know that scene where the
on
cowardly.
the beat, he's like, give us a fucking chance.
No. The worse on that, the cowardly soldier lets
Oh my God.
lets the German stab his mate because like the bit. Oh, I accidentally stabbed you. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I looked right at the camera.
Yeah. Such a dickhead. Oh, anyway, back to it.
Man, yeah.
Let me just put my swastika back on.
And back to
You
like
know what I
the,
mean?
the
It's kind of like-
trumpet, like music over like. Whir, whir, whir.
Excellent. It must
You
exist
can't have
somewhere.
that. You can't have that in Saving Private Ryan because it's not a silly movie. This is a silly movie, a silly fun movie. I don't think I should watch these sequels though.
We will get there eventually because, you know,
There are only so many movies.
yeah,
We should do more Jackie
the
Chan
heat
movies,
death
though.
of the universe will
There's
come
150
before.
Jackie Chan movies. We could do Jackie Chan movies for about 13 and a half years, I think.
Yeah,
maybe
I would
14 years.
love 50. We got 50 a year, haven't we? So we could get.
Oh no, sorry, 3 years. 3 years.
3 years,
I don't
yeah.
know where my maths was. I thought
Well,
we were
if
doing
we-
one a month.
Joking aside, I think we should do Karate Kid sometime with Jackie Chan.
Yeah,
The new one.
but I
Not
would
the-
like. I would.
No, we watch both and we do like a comparison.
Oh, good. Yeah, I would like to get into like his pre-Western films, though. You know, like because
Rumble in the Bronx is a nice sort of way to transfer into that because it's very much like Chinese sort of directing. You know, in terms of the stunt work and the acting, it's just based in New York City.
yeah.
Nah, I think we should watch The Tuxedo.
The Tuxedo.
God.
2002.
Strap
Only
the
rent.
C4
only
vest
renting.
on me.
No, Ross, it's perfect. Jackie Chan becomes a super spy because he puts on a tuxedo.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
2-hour movie.
2-hour movie.
But why
Somebody
is it called the Tuxedo though?
Somebody got paid.
That's where you end. That's where you end the episode. Good night, everybody.
See you next week.
Oh,
Still think Bodyguard's going to get me $1 million.
yeah, I think it might.
Oh, right, I'm pressing stop now.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson is Bodyguard.
That sport isn't very descriptive.
What's that, dude?
Fucking Sam Bloodsport isn't very.
Oh my god, yeah. I mean, Bloodsport, like, is it, you know, why on earth is it called that? There's
It could be a fox hunting movie. Fuck you. That could be a fox hunting movie.
Shut the fuck up, Sam.
He's got you there, Sam.
I mean, I'm just saying. That was good. Hold
That was a
on.
good one. That was one of our better ones.
Yeah.
Do you know why? Because this movie's actually quite thin, and we recognise that, and we were like, right, let's have a 10-minute discussion about Ross's
Yeah.
Bodyguard.
Let's talk about this very complicated Bodyguard movie. Hitman brother who also runs a hitman agency. Is that right?
Who's also a hairstylist.
Hey, save some ideas for the sequel, Ross. Jesus. Let's not give Fox everything.
Oh man, that was
It's going to be the next Fast franchise, Ross.
Yeah, B9.
Nine. Garden Space.
Bodyguard.
The thing is, though, like true fans will recognise that the first 3 movies are vastly superior, and won't recognise.
Yeah, but the mainstream, the idiot masses will flock to us for B9, and I feel, and then we can have just Buddy,
Yeah, Buddy,
Guard,
Be
Guard.
Guard and Furious.
two Guard, two Furious.
2 Guard, 2 Furious.
Ah,
2 Guard, 2 Body.
Bodyguard 4. A good day to guard hard.
I'm so glad we're still recording because I can put this in. That's excellent. Right, let's end it there. See you next time. Bye.